Let's talk about what's going to happen in November. So Joe Rogan on his show said he's a liberal. Cenk of the Young Turks responds. He says, it's amazing how unaware people are. Joe Rogan just said, quote, I'm so liberal, like I talk about it all the time, like I am not a conservative. Based on what? All he's done for the past 2 years is extreme right-wing propaganda. But in his mind, he's still a compassionate liberal. I can't name a single thing Rogan was in the news for in the last 2 years that was a left-wing position. I can't name a single thing he has criticized the right wing for. He still promotes lunatic right-winger Alex Jones. And in his mind, he's on the left, hilarious and ridiculous.
Hold on, can I say something? Yes, Cenk, there's a reason for that. Because the status quo within the dominant media culture is that you do not get to say things that are right-leaning. So of course he's not going to be in the news for any of his left-wing opinions.
That's not true, though.
You don't get in trouble for those.
That's not true. Joe was in the news for tons of left-wing stuff, supporting Bernie Sanders, supporting Andrew Yang, and supporting universal basic income numerous times. The issue is that Cenk doesn't actually read the news. He hears the news from someone else. And so when they're like, did you hear Joe Rogan said a naughty word? He goes, that's the news. When you actually go to the news websites, you're like, oh, Joe Rogan's promoting universal basic income, which is almost socialism. And he says not promoting left-wing ideas.
Well, and fair enough, but fair enough, but also the stories that have been the biggest, the ones that have been the most controversial, and the ones that have resulted in people coming after him and thus became giant stories were all the ones where he had right-wing perspectives, because those are the ones you are not allowed to have.
Dude, it's the Elon meme. It's the Elon meme of like the left has gone so much further to the left. The people
and
like
authoritarian.
The Joe Rogans of the world who kind of just stayed put. The Joe Rogans, the Bill Maher's are kind of like, no, you guys changed a lot. And so in his mind, I can see him still thinking that he's I don't know if he would call himself progressive, but liberal-minded. I can see him thinking that.
I say it all the time. People who don't read the news versus people who do their research. Yeah, because granted, like reading the news might not inform you.
This is an example of Cenk. He doesn't say that Rogan has not said a left-wing view. He says, I can't name one because he hasn't been following him. He hasn't been listening to him.
Exactly the point. So you see Cenk Uygur. He comes out and he criticizes Joe Rogan, saying he's only spewing right-wing propaganda. Fast Company wrote an article a couple weeks ago saying why you need to beware of right-wing comedy like Joe Rogan or something like that. No, I'm not. I'll pull it up in a second. If you don't actually investigate, if you don't actually listen to people and you just believe the narrative machine, well, then, of course, Cenk is surprised by this.
Do you think the news has gotten more dishonest, or it was always this dishonest?
It was always.
Always, yeah. They've just become more overt in certain ways, and they're also different audiences they've decided to pander to that have made it more obvious to us that they're dishonest.
Take a look at this from Fast Company. Why you need to take right-wing comedy seriously. From Joe Rogan to the Babylon Bee to Steven Crowder. The new book, That's Not Funny, deconstructs their appeal and why it matters. Yo, Joe Rogan was a famous comedian 20 years ago. Like, what do you mean, right wing? He was on news radio. He's hilarious. He's got Netflix specials. He does stand-up. He was on Fear Factor. He's not a right-wing guy. He's never been. If you can't realize that this mainstream sitcom comedian hosting these shows who is a liberal, if you can't see that you've moved on this one, I don't know how I can help you.
Do you think it's a publicity thing? Like, do you think Cenk is trying to create controversy with the biggest podcast in the world to get attention?
I do.
I don't think so.
Like, he's not helping people with that tweet. He's just getting attention.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
no, I think
he was trending on Twitter today.
I think listen. If you live in a world where you only hear from the establishment machine, and you think Joe Rogan is right wing because you don't actually investigate anything he said, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get angry. Oh, that anger that we feel about Joe Biden doing illicit business dealings with Ukraine and China through his son, about the quid pro quo with the prosecutor in Ukraine, with the president, fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion, which you had no authority to do. I get angry because there's no accountability. Of
course.
Russiagate, I get angry. There's no accountability.
So I feel about nanothermite, man.
You know what? We've investigated these stories. I've looked up a bunch of facts. I've seen sworn affidavits on the Ukraine Biden scandal. And so I say, I believe beyond a reasonable doubt that there was illicit business dealings here. In order for there to be accountability, we now need a legitimate investigation to determine that. But I am angry because it's not happening. There is actual probable cause. Joe Biden had no authority to do that. He did it. He admitted it on camera. The prosecutor signed a sworn affidavit saying he did it. Courts ruled Ukraine were meddling, all of that stuff. And I say, I want accountability. Cenk Uygur hears narrative garbage nonsense without fact checking and says Joe Biden is right wing, and he's genuinely angry about it.
You said Joe Biden. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Sorry, Joe Rogan.
But I mean, maybe
Genuinely,
Joe Biden.
I think Cenk. You know what I think happens is he lives in this narrative world of the corporate press, and the ground keeps dropping out beneath his feet. Like when Trump won, everyone's seen that compilation video of the Young Turks losing it because Trump broke them. They couldn't believe it. They had been told over and over again what was true and what was going to happen.
I got to talk to Cenk about Hillary's emails. When that dropped and they went to WikiLeaks, like what did that, because I remember him talking about it or at least acknowledging it and being like, well, the DNC is complete trash. But like, where is he? Why is he still not like, okay, let's go deep on the military industrial complex now? Instead, he's like still hung up on the partisanship.
It's tribalism versus principle. A principled person says, you know, I'm not a fan of the Republicans, but hey, if they're destroying public records, Trump was accused of something similar with cell phones or whatever. I'm like, yeah, we should know about that. We need to hear about that. It doesn't happen. When you've got the tribal side that says we ignore what our side does, we only care if your side does it.